Systematic theology is the careful and comprehensive study of biblical doctrine. For example, it's asking questions like, what does the whole Bible teach on the attributes of God? Or what does the whole Bible teach on creation, or sin, or salvation, or the church, or the return of Christ, or heaven and hell? These are all various categories one might explore when studying systematic theology. And of course, we can zoom in. In fact, we must zoom in a lot further into all of these and ask more specific questions. The fact is that a person can plumb the depths of theology for a lifetime and never reach the bottom. The Bible is a big book, and God is a big God. But He has revealed Himself to us, and so it's so very important that we seek to understand all that He has revealed. In my experience, many Christians, or in fact most Christians, have just barely scratched the surface when it comes to understanding theology. But there are at least two major benefits to this. And the first is that it helps us to know God. It helps us to know God, and it helps us to know what He's revealed to us. And that really is so very important. Now, the fact is, everybody does systematic theology to some extent, whether consciously or subconsciously, whether carefully or haphazardly. We all have kind of formulations in our mind about who God is and what He's revealed to us. But I've compared a lot of people's theology, including my own at one point, and the fact is I'm still a work in progress. But I've compared some people's theology to a jellyfish. It's squishy and has a lot of loose ends. Systematic theology helps kind of give us a structure to understanding who God is and to seeing what He's revealed to us in Scripture. And it does really tie up a lot of loose ends and just gives us a fuller picture of this God whom we worship. And so that's one benefit, just to know God and what He's revealed to us. A second benefit is that it helps us to interpret Scripture just in our day-to-day life as we're reading through Scripture during our devotional time. Let's say you come to a teaching that's maybe difficult to accept or difficult to understand. Well, the first thing we ought to do is seek to understand that in its immediate context, in that passage that we're reading. But then it is so very important. In fact, it's necessary for us to understand what the rest of Scripture teaches on that particular topic. And so that's going to inform us on how we are maybe going to interpret a specific passage that is maybe difficult. And so it informs our interpretation. It helps us just in our day-to-day reading of Scripture. And as you study the Bible in this systematic way, you'll come to find that hardly any doctrine stands alone. In fact, there's an interconnectedness to it all. And so you'll find that if you adjust your understanding of one doctrine, of one teaching in Scripture, it's going to require you to adjust your understanding of another doctrine. And so then that might cause you to kind of dig in deeper and look at all the relevant passages and decide which way is most faithful to Scripture. But it really, you can get down into the nitty gritty and look at very detailed things, but then you zoom out and you see that it's all this web that connects together. And it is so very important that we are continually strengthening our understanding of who God is and what He's revealed to us in Scripture. And systematic theology is really the way to do that. And so certainly this is a way for us to love God with all of our minds. And so I would encourage everyone to take the plunge and to begin to study the Bible in a more systematic way to begin this endeavor of systematic theology.